This is Bless Radio. It's Tuesday evening, and this is the spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. I'm Saad in southeast London, and with me, as usual, is Gregory. Gregory, how are you? And how is the weather where you are?
One is fine. It is cold, cold, cold.
Okay, thank you. Well, you're same here in London. I think it started yesterday. Very cold. It is still plus temperature, like maybe +1 or so. But well, not today. It isn't. But it was minus today. But it feels colder than what the actual temperature is. So yes. But the sun was shining earlier. That was a nice feeling. So welcome, listeners, to this spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Updrushin. And every week we have a new topic for discussion. The topic tonight is Thy Will Be Done. Thy will be done. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's another way you can contact us. That is on the website we are broadcasting. It's called blessradio1, the number 1.com. And on that homepage, if you scroll down, you'll see a chat box called Bless Chat. So you can write in any questions or comments into that chat box. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message in the Light of Truth by Updrushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Updrushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail Message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail Message lives so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic for our discussion tonight is Thy Will Be Done. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way you can contact us, that is on the website where we are broadcasting, which is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. Go to the homepage and scroll down and you'll see a chat box called Bless Chat. And you can type in your questions or comments in there. So, Gregory, as you know, I always like to look up the meaning of the words in the title or the topic for the discussion. So tonight's topic is Thy Will Be Done. So the first word there is thy. And I think people still don't know this word, but I will tell you what the dictionary says. Thy is an old-fashioned poetic or religious word for your. I think I'm just going to say, so just substitute the word thy to your, is the old English word. So I don't think that needs any more understanding there, Gregory. Would you like to say anything?
No, I think you are precise in it.
Okay. And just to say, they give an example in the dictionary, honor thy father and thy mother. So that's honor your father and your mother. That's the meaning they've given there. But we'll focus on the topic for tonight, which is thy will be done. Okay, so the next word there is will. And in the dictionary, they have given us 2 meanings. The first one, the ability to control your thoughts and actions in order to achieve what you want to do. There's a bit of follow-up on that, Gregory. So I just want to say, if you can comment on this one, which is the meaning of the word will, the ability to control your thoughts and actions in order to achieve what you want to do. Do you have any comment on that there, Gregory?
That is precise in accordance with one's thoughts. What about one's deeds? What about one's intuitions?
Actually, they did use the word actions, so that is deeds. I thought that means deeds. So unless you you want to go, you want to say something on that?
Well, if actions is there, then
yeah,
what is remaining would be intuition.
Intuition. Okay. Yes, they haven't mentioned that at all. So that's for sure. Okay. And just another continuation of this definition for will, it is a strong and determined desire to do something that you want to do. I guess it's very similar.
It is similar, but it's only a description. The first one seems to be, if you summarize it, which ties up to decision, the ability to decide.
Okay. Right. So I'll make a note of that. Thank you. All right. And another meaning they give, it seems to be, for me, this is the same, really. Well, what somebody wants to happen in a particular situation. So that's the will. Anything to say on that one?
No, because these are all descriptions.
Right. Okay, we will continue. We'll continue. So the next one was thy will be done. So I just didn't bother to check up the word be. I just said done, look up done. And it says the meaning of the word done is finished, completed. Is that, how good is that?
Of course, yeah, those ones are appropriate.
Right. Sorry, you said it's not appropriate. I think.
I said those ones are appropriate.
Are appropriate. Sorry. Are appropriate. Okay. Fine. Now, Gregory, those words, thy will be done, it's from the Lord's Prayer that Jesus gave. And I just thought to give it the context, I would read out the Lord's Prayer so that we have some idea what it means. Although we can talk more than just the Lord's Prayer, though. So here's the Lord's Prayer is, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So, Gregory, so there, if I just read a bit, I'm going to just repeat, Gregory, because I think somehow we will lose the focus. So I just want to read the part that is to do with the will of thy will be done. So, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. So, Gregory, can I start with the first question about, it looks from those words that thy will is done in heaven, like already, but the will on earth, it's like somehow it has to be made to happen on the earth. So somehow it happens automatically in heaven, thy will, but not on the earth automatically. Am I correct in that understanding?
That word heaven, the context needs to be understood correctly.
Right.
For when heaven is mentioned, many consider what lies beyond the earthly capabilities of the senses, whereas that is not the case. There are other realms. What is referred to as heaven are those places in which the will of the Almighty is unconditionally fulfilled by the inhabitants of that realm, because they are matured enough, and in their maturity, they swing unconditionally.
Right. Thank you for that answer there, Gregory. Okay, so now we have this picture there are two things, 2 points you were making, if I can say that, and you can just correct me if I'm wrong. So heaven, the meaning of the word heaven, it's not what some people might think is just beyond the earthly sort of um, world. This is there are many worlds beyond the earthly, and so heaven is, let's say, not in the immediate earthly environment world. So it's further up, you could say, or further outside of the earthly environments. So I hope that is not confusing. But so there are many worlds. That's the way to think about it. And so it's not immediately after the earthly that you get to heaven. So I have got that. Am I okay with that, Gregory? That definition?
Well, yes, that's all right.
Okay. So, and then you also mentioned that there are beings or inhabitants living in heaven, and they automatically, I don't know if you use the word automatically, but they unconditionally, I think you use the word, do the will of the Almighty. Am I correct there as well?
Correct.
Okay. So then the question that I was asking, and for the context, thanks for that on context you gave, is that it looks, right, Gregory, that from these words of the prayer, that the will of the Almighty is done automatically or unconditionally in heaven, but not so on this earth. So is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So why would that be? Because immediate question arises there, that the will of God, you'd think it would go everywhere, and not only in heaven but also on this earth. So what would yeah, please, Greg, if you can answer that.
As anyone can determine, there's so much evil deeds here on earth. Because there are evil deeds, you can't say it is the will that is responsible for evil deeds. So the human personality, through its activities, has precipitated or has given rise to evil. And because he or she is granted the free will to make a decision, and the decisions which they have made have not always resonated with the will of the Almighty, and subsequently has precipitated so much evil, which you find all over the place, you find here on earth.
Thank you, Gregory, for this, again, picture that you've given there. And, so something, Gregory, is happening on earth with the human beings, that they can do evil, and therefore not against the will of God, you can say, and which is not happening in heaven. So there's something special in heaven that that doesn't happen there. So now, Gregory, we know we human beings have freedom or free will, and so that is a decision that you can choose to follow something, or let's say the will of the Almighty, or you choose not to. That is a choice you have, and obviously there will be consequences either way, whichever choice you make. So, and if I just go back to the Lord's Prayer, where it is saying, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." So, from what you have said, Gregory, it is man's has to make a decision to follow the will of the Almighty. Yeah. So, or yeah, let me just, I just want to reflect on it before I can ask a question on that. So, if that's the case, Gregory, that we have a choice as human beings on the earth to make a decision to follow or not to follow the will of the Almighty, you would think that God would give us some guidance to make, so we can make the right decision, if I can say, you know. So is there a way, Gregory, that we are supposed to know the will of the Almighty?
When such a question arises, there is the impression that something is hidden, which the human personality does not yet know. And that's not the case. It is, or many personalities should know that only through the will of the Almighty were they permitted to experience, were they permitted to make decisions. And in that process of decision making, they are supposed to mature. Those decisions which do not swing unconditionally, there are reciprocal activities, which reciprocal activities are not pleasurable, which reciprocal activities do not bring them joy or happiness. Therefore, through such decisions which subsequently do not bring joy or happiness, they are supposed to evaluate these things and to ensure that subsequent decisions that are made will bring back joy or happiness as a reciprocal activity. So, with that framework in place, the human spirit automatically understands that it is self-evident, just as they themselves are striving to live aright, so are others. And therefore, if others decide to distract him, they will be incurring a reciprocal activity which will hinder their movements, which will hinder their motion. And on the same vein, just as others will be hindered, if he himself proceeds to become an obstruction on the path of others, it will also hinder his progress. So these things are automatic. The challenge is that many, in their indolence, have refused to reflect on this. That has always been the challenge, because the will of the Almighty is so self-evident that it doesn't require much reflection, much thinking. But if people don't reflect on that, then they will not know how to proceed, because they just think they can get away with it.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for your answer there. And there's quite a lot you said in these few words, in that answer. Because what I'm reflecting on what you've said there is there is, I mean, people, yes, we're always thinking, oh, we need guidance, we need to be told what is the will of God and what, you know, what is the right thing to do, something like that. We're all sort of questioning things. And yet the answer is there if only we use our abilities, or we take action and then we see the consequences of those actions, and then we can see the result of those consequences and see, is this making me, well, you said give us joy, but of course this is all in the context of, is it beneficial for us human beings? Because you can be happy about something. Some people may have a malicious joy for some harming someone, and they get that malicious joy, but that is not true joy because they're harming someone. So, so we should be able to distinguish, what is true joy, what is truly beneficial, and then because what we do for others, or what we do to others, we are doing it, it has the consequence on us. So we should know what from these points how to reflect about these things. And so, yeah, you see you do something, you see the reaction, and then you know whether it's right or not. You can tell that. So yes, thank you for that answer there, Gregory. Now, I wanted to look at another sort of scenario. So, Gregory, if we, let's say, continue to do, let's say, go against the will of the Almighty, and do we still retain the free will, or is there a consequence on the free will? That will our free will be taken away?
The free will of the human personality is never taken away. That free will which permits the human personality to make free decisions is an intrinsic part of the human personality, an intrinsic feature, so it's never taken away. However, he or she must reckon with the reciprocal activity that has arisen from making decisions. Therein lies the responsibilities. So, if the human spirit makes decisions and the reciprocal activity, to use your words, are beneficial, not only beneficial in deeds, but also in thoughts and also in one's intuition, then in that particular scenario, it enhances the maturity of the human personality because he or she is now able to perceive finer things. It's as if he's been drawn up. He can see things not only in a context, in the earthly context, but also in the non-earthly context, is able to perceive of these reciprocal activities and is able to rise. The sensing of joy and rising is felt only basically within one's intuition, and therefore he or she acts as if their feet do not touch the floor anymore because their activities have been beneficial and they are able to float as if something draws them higher. So you will find, yes, the human personality must make free decision. It is the reciprocal activities that it has to reckon with, whether they are beneficial or not. And it is the reciprocal activities that tend to suck him upwards or pushes him down.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer. I want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message, by Uprushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grailmessage.com. Grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic for discussion tonight is Thy Will Be Done. You can join in the show with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. If you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And another way you can contact us is if you go to the website where we are broadcasting, which is blessradio1, that's the number one, .com. And if you scroll down the homepage, you will see a box called Bless Chat. And you can type in your questions or comments in there. So as I mentioned, we are broadcasting on blessradio1.com. We are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box. Bless Radio 1, that's the number one again, space live stream. That's for the live show, which is on Tuesday evenings from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube the next day. Go to youtube.com, type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, that's the number one again, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is Thy Will Be Done. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows, the recording of previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM / Bless Radio 1. That's the number one again. Now, Gregory, you already mentioned about, us human beings. Obviously, we know we have free will, and which means we can either decide to follow or not to follow the will of the Almighty. And we have done that, of course, we know, and then the evil has come about, which we are aware. So we are saying we started with the topic is Thy will be done. So it sounds a command. Thy will be done, and of course, as I say, we have the free will. So sometime when you think of it, look at it this way, you think, oh, we are being imposed to do something, let's say, which we don't agree with. That is our own will. So there is the will of the Almighty, and then we have our own will, and which may not, agree. Now, I don't know if that is not automatically considered, would be looked at as evil, because it could be just a choice of, I'm thinking, let's say, if you're traveling and, A to B, and you choose a route, you can go in 3-4 routes. So I'm not sure in this question, Gregory, because I'm trying to work out from this question what is, if that choice or decision that we make, is that with a free choice of our own, is that necessarily complying? Because it may not be like an evil choice, like I said, doing something deliberately to harm someone, but more a choice of going a particular route from A to B, So you can go by train, for example, you can go by car, or you can fly. So as I said, this is in a neutral way I'm looking, just to get clarification. And what I'm saying, the question I would like to ask here is about when we exercise our will, free will, would there be something that in this process that could say is against God's will? So I want to get clarification. Let me just say, how can we be sure, know in clarity if something is it like a choice, a free choice, and it doesn't have to be one choice, 1, 2, 3, but nothing is not doing harm. Is there something there which might be opposing the will of the Almighty? Or is something more sinning? You have to do a sin, which is called the sin of the Almighty. So I hope you understand the question, what I'm trying to put forward there.
To be factual, it is so confusing that I'm unable to follow precisely.
I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So let me make it just the first part question. Is when man with his free will sins, that is, oh, apologies. Just give me one moment, please. Apologies, listeners. There was something I had to deal with there. So, Gregory, if I just want to make the question, is what I want to get clarity on, where does the human free will is when it's only when you do a sin, is that the only time when you can say that is you're not following the will of the Almighty, or can it be something about a free choice which is not causing a sin? So I hope that makes sense.
What one refers to as a free choice is a choice which must have been considered not only in thoughts, but also with one's intuition. For it is the intuitive decision that carries the motive that ensures a reciprocal activity. If the motive, that means the intuitive decision, is such that it sets in motion that which subsequently is beneficial, and because it is beneficial, it helps to raise the personality upwards. If that intuitive decision is not beneficial, because you now have a scenario where the returns that accrue from that decision presses or has an impact which suppresses, by pressing the human personality down, then that is not beneficial. And in that case, what is not beneficial is a sin. For the human personality is supposed to make decisions which should be beneficial for it. The challenge has always been that in making decisions, there has been the intellectual interference where things are calculated on the surface. There is no deep reflection before these decisions are made. And therefore, subsequently, because there is such superficiality and also not acting in an intuitive way, you find that everything has been so well calculated, and that which has been so well calculated is narrow, it's not deep enough. And subsequently, the reciprocal activity is such that it will supply a narrow solution, which narrow solution could be only of benefit or only of benefit to yourself and not to others. In the case where someone steals from another, of course, on a superficial level, he or she will be happy, like you rightly mentioned, but subsequently, intuitively, is it beneficial? For there must be reciprocal activity. That is the determinant on how the human spirit makes progress or makes retrogression. A retrogression is not beneficial. But to make progress, in the sense that you have the one for all and all for one, then it becomes a win-win scenario, and all is happy as all is well.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer and explanation that we can think about these things, as you say, reflect. The intellect is there, and sometimes we are overtaken by the intellect in our decision making, and not look at all the consequences, and then have the, let's say, suffer the result of that. Let's say, call it a negative result for not reflecting deeply. So thank you for that. Now, so Gregory, as we say in the Lord's Prayer, it says, "Thy will be done," and on earth as it is in heaven. So we already explained that it happens automatically on the heaven and on the earth. You could say it's human beings' duty to follow that will, or to make it happen on the earth. So now, and of course, it must be a free choice because of the free will of man or human beings. We must make that free choice, like voluntarily. So now, just want to explore something, Gregory. The Muslims, they follow Islam, and the meaning of Islam, that their religion, is to submit or surrender to the will of God. So it's saying also there to follow the will of God there. And there's a more further question I would like to ask from following from that. But the first one I'd like to ask is to submit or surrender. When they say submit or surrender, it means you do it voluntarily, right? Not by force. That's, I just want to get that clarified there, Gregory.
It was not mentioned that submit or surrender voluntarily. It was just said submit or surrender. So therein lies the vagueness. And even the expressions to submit or to surrender, these are only approximate statements. To a more realistic one would be to have a deep insight. That means to have a more intuitive picture of what submission is or what to surrender is. That can only occur when one is in a state where one is able to resonate with this will. That means to be able to draw power and apply it not only to its own benefit, but to the benefits of others. For that indeed is the will of the Almighty. For anyone is permitted to receive, just as the personality is permitted to receive if he or she swings, all right? That is, if he or she resonates, all right? Is permitted to draw of the blessings, not only to ennoble himself or herself, but also to share of the blessings which he himself or herself has been permitted. The very simple example which comes to mind is the case of a musician who, due to his innate ability, is able to compose a piece of music which many are able to resonate with and are much happier. In that case, to be said, it is beneficial not only to him, but also to others, because he or she did not use the ability granted him and shut it away from others. Whereas you have a scenario where you have some people who can accumulate many a resource and will not in any way allow others to benefit from that which they have cultivated. And that is the root of many an evil. Because it's like you yourself, you have been breathing in, but you refuse to breathe out. So you can take another breath in. So one can easily see the roots of many problems. And when people say, oh, they don't know it's a sin, it's because they are not reflecting at all.
Thank you so much for that answer, Gregory, because what I could sort of take from it is that, people must come to like a recognition of what is the will of God and what is, how we are meant to be doing activities which are beneficial, not only for us, but for our, neighbors and people around. And then there was a key point you made, or I could see, is that, so, some people, let's say, are making the effort to, could say, reflect, to know or to recognize this will of God, and others are not. And we're all living on this earth, it could be in a community, it can be in countries, wherever it is. And, everyone is different. Everybody has a different understanding. And, we have to live together. So what I was wondering, when you have, one individual or group of people may want to do some activity, and others may not like it or may not agree with it, and they will try to maybe obstruct it. So you gave example of music. Now, I don't want to make too much a specific example, but let's say some in the same. I'm going to say it in a general way, but so in the same people of the same belief, there may be and this is spread around the world, this belief, let's say, and then in some country or some group area, one people say no, music is not allowed according to their thinking of that belief, and others say no, it is allowed. So it's the same teaching, Gregory, or belief, but then people are interpreting it in different places their own way, and now you're wondering, okay, and some may have reflected deeply, and others may not, and so those who think it's reflected deeply and for them it is right, and others who don't want to, they will claim that no, it's not right. So you will have this, how can I say, um, um, sort of a blockage of you're not able to express your free will in this because of the people around you. So what can one do in this situation? Leave the place, or just keep your mouth quiet, and because you can't, your free will is meant to be expressed, and some people are trying to stop your expression of your free will. So what can you do in such a situation?
Although it is not in place to advise one what to do or not what to do, you yourself had mentioned that the scenario is that of belief. As long as it has to do with a framework of belief, then those involved in the so-called belief framework lack the necessary examination and the necessary weighing of that which they believe or not believe, and therefore they are prone to errors. Therefore, the only advice one may give, that everything that comes across the human personality, which is a challenge, be it sorrow or not sorrow, these must be weighed, these must be examined in accordance with the laws of nature, with the laws of creation, through which the human spirit, came into existence. So it is only the weighing and the examining of challenges, such as the one you yourself just mentioned, that brings clarity. And in that case, if there are scenarios where others say, well, I don't listen to music, they themselves have chosen. There are others who are able to listen to music. Again, they themselves have chosen. It should be made very clear that each one is free to make a decision when it gets to adulthood. In that case, people should speak the language in order to be able to communicate with others. Music itself is a language, and many who are unable to tolerate or to understand or to enjoy it, they have a free will to move in accordance to their beliefs. But whatever belief is there, it must be examined, else such a person is not yet alive.
Thank you very much for this answer, Gregory. I was just thinking, yes, each person's individually can make their decision, yes, do this or not do this. It's just when they're surrounded by others who disagree, then it's like, although you can make your own decision, uh, the manifestation of the decision may be restricted by the people around you. So I'm thinking that, um, it's like, you do whatever you do, there will be a consequence, and it could be, that you might get harmed, um, and but then it's like, okay, you knew that could happen, yeah, if I can say that way. It might happen, let's say. So you take it's still your decision, even if other people do something to you. So and you just have to sort of accept the consequences, that that's the world you're living in. Even if something you believe is right, or you think it's your sensing is it is right, others will, as you say, might try to stop you. So I guess you just have to, um, accept it, the consequences, because you can't control other people. You can only control yourself. So so thanks for that. Now, another, again, these are sort of beliefs, Gregory, and we're saying it's always about weighing and examining, but the people live this way. So I guess we can at least look at these things, and then each person must weigh and examine themselves. So I want to look at another concept, Gregory. Um, there's something we call fate, um, and we also have already been talking about free will. And again, I want to just look at something from Islam where they say that God is all-knowing, and it sort of implies everything has been predetermined, and yet they also know about free will in Islam. So what I want to explore now, Gregory, is, can if we knowing that we have free will, so we are free to make decisions, can it be that the Almighty knows already the decisions we will make and the consequences from that uh, in advance? Or so, because the free will means you can choose anything, you know. Um, so when it is said God is all knowing, and does it mean that our life has been somehow predetermined, or it is known what we will do?
There are many questions you have fused into one. Therefore, one will have to respond to the predetermination first. What is referred to as predetermination, one must separate it as the pre. The pre is that which is considered first. Once a human spirit has made a decision, the consequences of that decision is handled by the laws of creation, of nature, which has been woven into creation. Now it is the consequences. It is only then we know what the consequences will be. Before a decision is made, no one knows how the personality will proceed. Therefore, in that particular scenario, there is the need to prepare, to consider the possibilities which may accrue from such decisions, the decision to take one channel or the other. So if a human personality makes a decision to take channel A, then the consequences become very clear. If he then decides to take channel B, the consequences are also very clear. But before the human personality makes that decision, he has not set anything in motion. So, if in that scenario he hasn't turned the lever to go to point A or point B, how can you now start telling of the consequences for that particular person and say who is going to be here? Therefore, it is not right to prejudge. What is happening in that scenario? We are prejudging and say, oh, the person is going to do this. No, we don't know. Neither does the laws of creation know how the human personality will decide. It is when that person has made a decision that the consequences, which are the continuous movement along that direction, that's what we refer to consequences, it is then that it is then known where he or she is heading. However, it should be very well known that in accordance with the will of the Almighty, that make provisions for the human personalities to mature, to even come into existence, things have been so well arranged that it should be simple enough for it to weigh. It should be simple enough for it to examine. If, however, along the line, it has not been weighing nor examining his decisions, his activities, then you will find in this scenario, due to the inertia that has overcome it, it is possible to say there is a probability that it may go along this direction. So this is the scenario one has to contend with. If, however, the human personality strives in such a way as to sever itself from indolence through rigorous, vigorous activity, then it will generate enough heat within itself. Its intuition subsequently will be refined in such a way that is able to perceive that which is beneficial for it intuitively, beneficial for it in thoughts, and also beneficial for it in deeds, in gross material deeds. In that case, is able confidently to move forward and subsequently move forward courageously.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer. I've got more to ask, and before I do that, I want to let the listeners know this is Bless Radio. You're listening to the Spiritual Discussion Program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Uprushin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic we are discussing is Thy will be done. Thy will be done. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And another way you can contact us is through the website we are broadcasting, which is blessradio1, that's the number one, .com. You can, and on there on the homepage, if you scroll down, you'll see a box called Bless Chat, and you can type in any questions or comments in that chat box. And as I said, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number one.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, that's the number one again, space, live stream. That's for the live show, which is on Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com, type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, that's the number one again, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is Thy Will Be Done. And of course, you can listen to the recordings of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM. Oops, I'm sorry. Oh, and say that's Zeno, that is ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1, the number one again. Gregory, my previous question, we were talking about, let's say some our fate being predetermined, and you clarified very well that it's only when somebody makes a decision that you know what's going to happen next, you can say, or the consequences, not before. So now, it was like a two-part question when I was asking. So from what you said is that just means the Almighty would not know what decision a person is going to make, right? So, but then it is also said the Almighty is all-knowing. So is there something incorrect there about the Almighty being all-knowing, since he doesn't know what decision we are going to make?
That expression, all-knowing, has been taken out of context. The all-knowing means the laws which have been woven into nature, into creation, that is able to report in reciprocal activity back to their origin. So this has been put in place within the weavings of nature, of creation. That is it. And that being the case, whatever decisions the human personality has made, it has been such that for the human spirit to redeem itself, that has also been woven into creation. That being the case, you will find that all that is needed for the human personality to mature in accordance with that has permitted it at all to come into existence is granted to it. All it needs to do is to make use of it vigorously. So the all-knowing does not mean that the Lord knows that you yourself are going to do that which is evil. That which has been granted, the power which has been granted to the individual is neutral. It is how the individual makes use of it that is either in error and subsequently brings evil or precipitates evil, or not precipitate evil. But all scenarios which the human spirit may be involved with have been well covered. But that does not mean that before the human spirit makes a decision, it is already known how he or she will make that decision. So that expression, all knowing, has been grossly distorted and lacks any intuitive interpretation.
Thank you very much for this answer, Gregory. What you're showing is showing that again we need to reflect deeply about these concepts and have to get the right understanding of that concept rather than maybe jumping to a quick, let's say, human thinking idea of this concepts. So there's a so yes, that's what it looks like, that we are. That's why we don't understand what these concepts really mean. Now, I'm thinking. I'm sorry, I've lost my thread. What I wanted to say to you. Okay. You know, Gregory, life is about learning and developing. So sometimes people think, oh, we are being set a test to, to grow ourselves. So now, is that, we are, as we say, we're going through experiences and maturing in these experiences. So that word test, it could be, some people might think, is either you pass or you fail when you do a test. But is that how to understand this word test in your life, or is it more about, because test doesn't mean, we do fail sometimes, and obviously we do pass as well. And then sometimes we'd have to redo the test to pass the tests. So how should we describe our, experiences in life, Gregory? Is it a test? Are we being tested, or is that again a wrong conception of what life is about?
It is indeed a very wrong conception. Why? Because you'll find in this particular scenario, the human personality has been endowed with its talents. And it is the task, the duty of the human personality to cultivate these talents such that they will bring benefit to the human personality and for all those that it is in contact with. To use the expression language, the human personality needs to cultivate the language so that it needs to know how to respond to the language which nature speaks to it, which creation speaks to it. Therefore, it is not a test. For one who is conscious and then subsequently becomes self-conscious, that only means that it understands how to respond to the challenges that comes its way through the language which is spoken to it. For the human personality has arisen as a child, because it's only a child that needs to develop. A child that needs to develop first has to understand the language which its parents speak to it, which its neighbors speak to it. If the child does not understand the language, how will it then communicate? How will it then respond to the challenges that it meets on its way? Therefore, it is imperative that the child, for it to become an adult, needs to avail himself or herself of the opportunities in order to learn this language aright. Some will say in the process of learning this language, they are being tested. Far from it. There is no test in it. What is demanded of you is to understand this language, because you yourself came into creation through the laws of nature, the laws of creation, which basically is the language which creation speaks to the individual. So for a communication to be there, there is the need. Actually, the word communication gives the strongest impression of reciprocal activity. So the need is there for the personality to grasp aright the reciprocal activity that comes through its own initiation of an activity. This is self-evident. Therefore, there is no testing. If, however, many consider these learning a language as if they have to be tested and then given a medal or given a certificate, then they have missed the whole point. So the right concept must be understood, that we are here, starting as children, to learn the language which nature speaks to us. For as we become conscious, we are able to determine, we are aware of the objects around us, we are aware of fellow human spirits, we are aware of the processes. There is a need to respond to all this. So subsequently, there is not only the external response, but also an internal response, which internal response comes from deep within one's intuition. For only in this way is it able to practice, to know how to respond to these challenges internally, in thoughts and in deeds. And before long, it becomes strong enough that it needs have no fear. Why? Because in confidence, in the reciprocal activity, is able to understand how to respond, how to structure itself. And that gives confidence. When one starts a journey, it's taken in simplicity, in simple steps. And as one goes along, as in the case of composing music or playing music, you take simple notes. And as you have confidence in your ability to call these simple notes, you become courageous and you become self conscious in the way you are able to call these notes, to interweave these notes. That is what is required of the human personality, to move, to start from these states of unconsciousness, to move to the states of consciousness, being able to realize, being able to participate in all that which is there, and to move from that state of that which is, one can say, has form, and to be able to go to that state in which you have to be able to recognize. So the state of recognition opens when it touches the intuition, because in that particular state there is resonance not only from the outward deeds, but the deeds in thoughts and also in one's intuition. Only then is the human personality able to draw of the blessings aright, which blessings have been woven in creation. Only then is able to make use of them to benefit himself and subsequently to others. In that case, it becomes a useful tool within the scheme of creation, because he or she is able to mediate that which it has received. In that mediation, in the mediation, all right, lies the fulfillment of his tasks as a useful personality, as a child of the Almighty, because he's able to use the talent which has been sown into it, all right, and has cultivated them.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for your answer and detailed picture that you've painted there about how we are meant to, so you could say, operate in life. You know, it's not a test, as you said. It's actually about learning the language of the Almighty or nature, and you know, and using the talents that are implanted within us to, you know, develop ourselves. So not it's like basically being, there's a natural way that has been set or there, and we are discovering it as human beings. Um, and then when we discover it in our talents as well, then we can apply it as well. So and I think sometimes these things sound like, oh, like we use the word test, but it's actually meant to be a joyful experience, not suffering. Yes, we will make mistakes, and you know, in our, you could say, attempts to you know, develop ourselves, but that is still, you know, that is how we develop ourselves. So it's not you know, you might get hurt, which you might think is, oh, this is harmful, but no, these are things, these are the steps we have to, mistakes, you can say, that we have to go through, and then we master these things, our skills and abilities. So thank you for that answer, Gregory. Now, you know, the topic is "Thy will be done," and which is talking about the laws of creation, the laws of nature, which we are fully aware, we do an action and there's a reciprocal, you could say, reaction from this action, not just us, but any activity. So that's one, you could say, and that's how it is. Our fate is, woven for us. But and that is one of the. I'm not sure if we have said this directly, but we say, "Thy will be done." So that is the will. The will is also the law, the law of the Almighty, or the law of creation, as we've been talking. So this is what we are, in this language that we are learning, that is what we're coming to recognize or become aware of, the natural laws, or the law of God. So this is what is being said here, listeners, when we say, "Thy will be done." So, and to take this in, you could say, the right way, it is supposed to be a joyous experience. Not supposed to be, it is joyous if we see it in the right way, and of course there may be challenges in the life and so on, and you can say, "Oh, I'm not so joyous here, I'm feeling I don't know, sad," or something like that. But that's only because we haven't learned to apply or to adapt ourselves to that law. So in the end, you can see all these things are of benefit. Even when we feel pain, it's actually a pain to put us back into the right direction, not a pain for the, to cause some suffering, in a sort of malicious way, if I can put it like that. Now, before I continue, I just want to let the listeners know this is Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushin. If you want to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we are discussing tonight is Thy Will Be Done. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And the topic we are discussing tonight, I've already said that. We are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1. That's the number one, Bless Radio, the number one.com. And you can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, again, the number one, space, live stream. That's for the live show. And you can listen to the recording of this show the next day, again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, the number one again, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is Thy Will Be Done. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number one. Now, Gregory, we already have become aware that, let's say, these concepts about the will of God and all the Almighty being all-knowing and other concepts, we've got our own, let's say, misconceptions about them rather than the real correct conceptions. So another example I would like to look at now. So, we are always seeking justice. And then maybe the earthly justice, earthly laws are not satisfying that sense of justice. But then we also know that there is the Almighty's laws, or the law of nature, the law of creation, or the laws of nature and laws of creation. But one can say the human sort of expectation of justice in terms of timetable may be expectation is that it should be quicker than what is exactly how long it takes in reality, or maybe we don't even see the justice happening at least in the eyes of the human beings. Something's happened to one person, let's say, and then let's not look at the earthly laws, because they are not perfect and they're not always able to achieve justice. But then we do know the laws of the Almighty do achieve justice, always give justice. So my question on it, Gregory, is the timetable, if I can use that word, seems to, for the justice from the Almighty, seems to be not, let's say, understandable to human beings. So how can we, and that makes it, let's say, unsatisfying. So how can we come to terms with the way of the justice of the laws of the Almighty? That this is, that timetable is, if I use the word timetable in quotes because I can't think of a better word, how can we come to this, understanding and acceptance that the way God's justice works is, the right way, for our own, in our own eyes, let me say like that.
Again and again, it must be realized that the human personality, striving to become self-conscious, has a limited scope. That means his ability to perceive of reciprocal activities are limited because he himself started as a child of creation. And only when it has cultivated the abilities that have been implanted into it and know how to use these abilities aright, only then can it be called a child of the Almighty. It will always remain a child in the sense that it needs to experience continuously. And therefore, the experiencing doesn't stop. Even when it has gotten back to its home in paradise as a self-conscious human spirit. And therefore, because it knows, or subsequently it becomes knowing, that it was this wisdom that permitted it at all to come into existence. It was this same wisdom that made it possible to prepare the paths that it needs to take in order to come into to come to maturity. Therefore, it must strive to understand that which has been put in creation to enable it to come to self-consciousness. Therefore, it cannot turn around and say the laws which have been woven into creation, these laws through which it itself came into creation, or even incarnated on earth, are not satisfactory for him or her. For within the scheme of things, he or she is a non-entity. He or she does not yet exist as a child of the Almighty. And when it strives to cultivate the abilities, it will also come to know what, to some extent, wisdom is, what vigilance and alertness is, what modesty is, what heroism, courage, and selflessness is. Only when these things have awakened deep within him or her will it say it is becoming self-conscious. Therefore, it is he or she who must adjust itself, who must adapt itself to these laws in order to awaken that which has been implanted. It's not the other way. So he or she who is looking out for justice must understand what justice is. That the human personality, in making use of the free will, can put in structures in creation using one's intuition. Can also put in structures in creation using one's thoughts. And can put structures in creation using one's gross material deeds. That means the deeds which are perceptible to the five senses that the human personality has here on earth. The duration of these structures which had been put in creation, the duration of the structures erected intuitively is different from the duration of the structures erected in thoughts and different from the duration of the structures erected in deeds. That which is intuitive is more stable, and at the same time, it is the human personality that supplies to these structures by using the power granted it in creation to enable these structures to persist. And therefore, you will find the structures which have been set up intuitively through one's intuition outlast that which have been set up in deeds. So it may be the maturity of these structures does not come in one's current incarnation, but may come subsequently in other incarnations. It is he himself or herself that has made this to be. For he or she has been granted the tools that it needs. So how can it then turn around and question the wisdom, that granted him or her this ability. Therefore, it is he or she who has to adjust to understand the language which creation speaks to it aright. Only then can it adjust itself to have an inkling of the wisdom, of the justice, of the Almighty that has permitted it in love to incarnate, to experience, such that if it is done rightly, the human personality may go back home and participate in the continuous mediation to others who subsequently are undertaking the type of journey it itself has undertaken. Then joy and happiness will well up within him or her because they know what the challenges are likely to be, and such that time should not be wasted. They are able to advise, they are able to mediate, they are able to support. That is the task of the human personality that has become self-conscious.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for your answer there, in detailed answer there. Again, you're pointing to that that we human beings have our own conception of how justice should manifest, but then this is the Almighty's justice we are talking about, which is perfect and you could say all-encompassing. And we humans see from our point of view, oh, this person did this, so they need to be, let's say, punished or repay in a particular way. But the Almighty sees the whole picture, you could say, or the laws of creation see the bigger picture, and then the justice will incorporate the resulting consequences will incorporate those that whole picture, which we human beings are not seeing. So obviously that can, and although it might take longer than what we think it should be taking, it's all-encompassing. So that's the different thing that we have to come to appreciate, to accept it or to recognize it. So yes, thank you for your answer there, Gregory. Okay, Gregory, this free will that we have come to, let's say, see it in the context of the laws of creation. That's how we're supposed to work within these laws. And but then, of course, we have done our own giving. I use this word justice. So our own thinking about how we, what something should happen to, like the punishment to somebody. Let me give example like this, Gregory. So say there's a war between two peoples, and one is the victorious one over the other, and then they say, okay, the victorious one party says, we demand this from you, the ones who have lost, but sometimes they treat them not as like an equal human. They think, no, you lost, so you have to pay, you have to suffer for that, and almost demand everything. So it's the victory is not, it seems to be like you have to have complete control over the other person. Um, and what I want to ask you there, Gregory, is, and then that person that has lost can become more, how can I say, hateful in their way of looking at you as a victor, and then they will want to fight back again, when they get their opportunity in the future. So what I'm basically asking, Gregory, there seems to be a vicious circle or cycle of, you could say tit for tat of human behavior. When one party is stronger, the other party loses, and then the other party gets an opportunity to come back and hit back the other, the original party. So so what I'm asking, Gregory, on this earth, can the will of God really be done, or because of the free will of everybody, you can't really count on the, you could say, the proper justice to be done. It looks like it can only be done as Jesus was saying in his prayer, thy will be done as in heaven as on earth. So it's almost like the earth, we can't achieve it. So what I'd like to ask there, Gregory, is there a time when justice will be, that all the human beings can live in peace, or it is only in heaven that will happen?
Those human personalities who have adjusted themselves to the laws of creation, the laws of nature, those human personalities subsequently know how to live with others. And such scenario as you described will not be of benefit to them, because when one considers that the so-called victor says to the vanquished, you must do this, you must do this, all right, you must pay reparation. Such victories are, or may be called, pyrrhic victories, victories which are worse than defeat. For the resentment, justifiable resentment, because one does not understand the opposition, what must have happened. Such structures will be built in one's intuition, seeking revenge. And therefore, you find that it will go on and on and on. It is expected that those who are more matured, maturity in the sense of the understanding of the creation laws, those ones we know how to respond. In some of the wars, some countries who were victors had come to realize this and had put these things in place. There are others who, up till now, still do not understand it, not because it is difficult, but because they themselves refuse to. They still wish to interpret things wrongly, and therefore such disastrous wars persist. However, such cannot go on forever, because here on earth, which belongs to the world of matter, the world of matter itself is temporal. That means it comes into existence, it evolves, it gets to a state where it becomes ripe, it becomes overripe, and we have to fall into disintegration subsequently. Disintegration to its primeval substances. Therefore, one can already see that it is temporal, although it may seem so very long for some. And within that time factor, within that cycle, the human personality is granted the opportunity to incarnate in this world of matter. The time granted it is enough to commence from the state as an unconscious spirit gem to the state of a self-conscious personality. Therefore, for those who are able to follow the guidance, to follow the prompts, which will enable them to achieve self-consciousness, they will mature very quickly and are able to return to their home in the paradise of man. For some who, for one way or the other, have refused to be mobile deep within themselves and have refused to learn the language which creation speaks to it, which the laws of nature speak to it, such personalities are unable to go back in time. And in that case, you will find they have been held back in the world of matter, which is temporal, and therefore unable to develop the talents which have been entrusted to them. And therefore, when the world of matter undergoes disintegration, the structures which they have built up intuitively will also be crushed, since those structures do not resonate with the will of the Almighty that permitted the virtues to be cultivated. Such personalities will be thrown back to become, and then they become unconscious, not only unconscious self in terms of self-conscious, they become unconscious even of their surroundings. That means they revert back to the spirit seed grains from whence they had started. Therefore, the opportunities which had been granted these spirit seed grains to learn the language of the Lord aright, these opportunities have been in vain. In vain because they themselves refuse to learn the language aright and to become beneficial subsequently to others in their maturing. That's in itself, that scenario where they return back to paradise as unconscious spirit seed grains, that is referred to as eternal death.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer. Dear listeners, we've come to the end of our show tonight on the topic of Thy Will Be Done. And I want to just end with reading from the Grail Message, which is the foreword to the Grail Message, and it is titled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such, it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you're truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Aprushi. And just to remind you listeners, if you want to get a copy of the Grail Message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. Gregory, would you like to say anything to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a very beautiful week ahead.
Thank you. Same from me, listeners. We'll be back next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time, with another topic.